Well, hello everyone. So I'm Chanchal and I'm a partner marketing manager here at Conscia. I'm so excited to kick off this webinar that we've all been waiting for. We've created something extraordinary, something innovative, an engine that can take marketing and e-commerce to a whole other level. I would like to start off by introducing each of the partners. We've got Sana Remiki here, CEO and founder of Conscia.ai. Chris Hawley, Global Director, ISV Partnerships, commercetools. Siavash Sibani, Head of Integration, commercetools. Maribel Mullins, Technology Partner Manager, Cloudinary. Nick Barron, Senior Director of Partner Enablement, Contentstack. And Matt Hudson, Founder and CEO of BILDIT. Now, I'll hand it over to Sana Remiki to talk through her vision for this initiative. Sana, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sana Remiki, and I'm the founder and CEO of Conscia.ai. I'm going to start by sharing a couple of screens to walk you through my vision. Do you mind, Chanchal, if you put the first slide up? All right. So we all know, and we've all been talking about composability and the composable ecosystem and the fact that future is composable. There's absolutely no doubt at all in all our minds that that's the case. You've seen lots and lots of mock vendors and composable vendors show up in the last few months on the scene. You've also seen monoliths out there, sometimes pretending to be composable and sometimes actually putting out composable solutions. Can you go to the next screen, Chanchal? All right, so why is composable and headless so difficult? This is the one question that has been haunting us all for a long time. In order to get the adoption that we need for a composable and headless ecosystem, we need to address the challenges that a composable ecosystem presents. And one of the biggest challenges that composability presents is the potential lack of control that business users have over building and orchestrating and managing experiences. The second thing that you'll always hear about composable ecosystems is that there's a lot of complexity in play. People believe and they perceive that a composable ecosystem requires an army of engineers. So something that Gartner recently mentioned in one of their analytics reports is that in order for businesses to adopt composability, they're going to have to put the control in the hands of the business, right? So the presentation control, who sees what, when, and where, needs to be in the hands of the business. Next slide. Well, meantime, in the meantime, while we're all trying to make composable work, we have monoliths basically laughing and kind of pointing fingers at us going, well, this is not going to work because you don't have all the tooling in place. You don't have an ability to put the show on the road really, really quickly. Well, guess what? We're going to prove them wrong. And we're going to do that by empowering marketing to control omni-channel experiences while staying composable, while future-proofing the organization's infrastructure and their architecture as we do it. Can we go to the next slide? All right. So at Conscia, we believe that in order to create a composable ecosystem, we need to have a platform that brings all of the pieces together. And what we call it, and we actually came up with this recently, the acronym COMPOSE, spelled completely wrongly. Just so that nobody can, catch us. So C for composable. We need the architecture to be completely composable. We need to give marketing and product teams the ability to manage experiences. We want to be able to personalize every experience that every single customer sees with intelligence and with data. We need to be able to make sure that every experience that we put out there is omnichannel, and that is only possible with a headless backend, headless systems of record. That it would not be possible without that. And finally, we want to make sure that in order to put out these experiences at unprecedented speeds, we're working with completely zero code technologies. We don't want to be sitting there coding like the monoliths do for, months and months, or sometimes they never actually get to the end. Now, next slide. So, in order to make all of this work, we believe that the experience needs to be laid out and it needs to be split up into a stack with 3 layers. The first layer is data. The data is data that we collect about the customer, as well as content and media that we're presenting to the customer. The second layer needs to be a decisions layer. The decisions layer allows us, our marketing and product teams, to control who sees what, where, and when on every channel, regardless of where the data and content is sitting. And finally, the delivery layer. And the delivery layer could be anything. It could be your website. It could be mobile, which we're going to show you today as well. Could be email. It could be kiosks, digital displays, anything that you can imagine. And the reason that you don't want to put the decisioning, if you can go back for a second, that you don't want to put the decisioning in the delivery layer is that if you allow the delivery layer to hard code the decisions within the front end, what ends up happening is that you have inconsistent experiences. You also don't want to put the decisions in the data layer. So you don't want to tie your decisions to the content or to the media. And the reason you don't want to do that is you have multiple data sources, you have multiple content sources. So if you make any one system of record responsible for the decisions that are tied to the channels, what you're doing is you're isolating and siloing all of the other content sources. So what you need is a decisions layer sitting in the middle of both data and your delivery infrastructure. Next slide, please. All right, so for the purpose of this omni-channel showcase, we are working with 4 other partners. We are working with Contentstack as a system of record for content authoring, content management, content workflows, etc. We're working with Cloudinary to store and manage media and also be able to provide real-time transformations, real-time optimizations of the media that can be configured for any channel and any use case whatsoever. And we're providing an integration with commercetools to hold on to the product catalog, to allow merchandising teams to manage all of the product information in one system of record. Conscia, as you can see, is the experience orchestration layer. That is the decisioning layer of the overall composable e-commerce stack, and we would provide the integration with all of the systems of record, as well as the intelligence to personalize the experiences and experimentation tools for the marketing teams to try and test, see what works and what doesn't work on basically every front end that they want to roll out these experiences. For the mobile platform, we pulled in BILDIT, who was able to build a very, very quick e-commerce app for us using Conscia's experience APIs. And we have a custom-built front end, a web front end app that is also connecting to Conscia through the experience API. So one thing that I didn't mention is that Conscia is also providing a single experience API that aggregates the responses from all of the backend systems of record and is able to personalize those responses using the rules and the logic that marketing is setting up within the Conscia's experience orchestration layer. So with that, I'm gonna stop here, and Chanchal, you can pass over the baton to the next individual.
Good afternoon. My name is Seva Shebani. I'm going to show you the commercetools solution, which is basically integrated in Conscia framework. commercetools is a headless commerce engine which provides various capabilities within the commerce experience. And in this specific use case, we are leveraging the product discovery in the category section of the solution. Now, the solution, as you can see, I have the products listing pages here. This is where the merchants, category managers, price managers, product owners are working on a day-to-day basis where they manage the products. The definition of the products is highly flexible. You can basically define the product types in commercetools. The product type is the definition of a product next to the standard product fields. There are also custom product fields which can configure, and they are based on a product type. And as you can see here, we have the product types which are basically standard. You can have multiple product types in your system. So we have also, for example, books available in there. I'm going to show you a few of these products. Let me search for a specific product. In this specific product, you can see that they have some default product attributes like the product name, the description, the key. It also offers a set of categories. commercetools category is basically a tree of labels that you can add to your products. Each product can belong to multiple categories, and with this allows you to basically use the category system from a navigation purposes perspective, but also for segmentation, where you can run additional rules and marketing rules on it. And this is also used within this integration in the Conscia ecosystem. Now, next to the default categories, you can see that I have product attributes defined, custom attributes defined at a product level. commercetools by default has a two-dimension product definition, which first dimension is the product itself. These are product level attributes, and if you go in the variants, you can have multiple variants, and each variant can have variant specific attribute as well. As you can see, you have here two variants, two attributes added to the variant as well. Next to that, you have basically the images and the pricing records here as well. Now, going back to the overview page. Now, as you could see, these values can be directly used within the integration in the Conscia ecosystem, as there are live API calls to the backend system. Now, the category tree is a loading there. So it's basically a tree that allows you to basically create nested trees, and each item has multiple categories, but also you can find the products that are attached to that. And all of this is searchable, of course, through the APIs, which can be consumed by any other system. I keep it as such. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sia. We would now like to hand it over to Nick Barron. Oh, sorry, Chris Hurley.
So I'm just adding, I guess, some commentary here on the business piece. The idea here is with headless commerce is we're powering the catalog, as Sia showed you with the details. And the idea is that we can put a best of breed approach. And as you're seeing, 3 or 4 separate ISVs are participating here. So the business value here is as clear as the technical value is. And Sana mentioned it at the top. It's to drive this control to the business user, to the marketing. We're able to do this without coding, and after basic setup, it is business users and that flexibility, the real-time responsiveness to the customer needs that we're all focused on. So with that, I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
Perfect. Nick, over to you. So we have Nick representing Contentstack now.
Excellent. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of a brief overview of kind of what a day in the life of an editor looks like, right, as we're using one of these platforms. And the ability for experts to be experts, right? I think that's another one of these business kind of superpowers that leveraging a composable infrastructure really helps with, right? If I'm a content marketer or a content editor, I should live in the content management platform, right? And I don't need to worry about the display layer or what those things are going to look like. I can just simply come in here and do the things I need to do. And then that data is going to make its way to where it needs to be, where other experts are doing what they need to do, right? So somebody's going to be using the orchestration engine to define what that design layer looks like, right? So we're going to stay in our data section, right? And what we see here is we have the Contentstack interface. So let's go ahead and jump into the project that we all kind of put together here. And we can see as an editor, I can get very quickly, right? I can get right to the thing I need to get to. So I know I need to come in, I need to update, a particular article that's in here. So I've got all of the different features and capabilities I would expect in a modern content management platform. But on top of that, I might also want to, instead of just having some of these kind of static fields, right, where I'm putting in my rich text content, all of my tags, I might also want to be able to kind of content model on the fly, depending on my rights, my roles, and my permissions. So I might want to add a hero section to this piece of content where I can choose things like an image, and I can put in additional, relevant information there, maybe a call to action to some other piece of content or a product coming from commercetools. We'll be able to leverage that experience here. We can also do things like relate this to other articles and announcements and other content objects that we have within the platform. Of course, all of this is going to be controlled with some workflows that we have in place, right? So as a super user, I can come in here and I can manage the workflows without kind of following the rules, which is nice for some. But typically, right, we're going to have to go through a process. As an editing team, different folks are going to have different responsibilities at different times. And these are also going to tie into another feature I'll show you guys in just a minute to allow for business workflows to happen behind the scenes. I don't mean content workflows, I mean business workflows, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But by leveraging this sort of who needs to do what and when, it becomes very easy for me to be able to look at filtered lists of content to see just what do I need to interact with today? How can I get into a platform and get out of the platform as quickly as possible, right? That's what we all want. We all have a variety of tools we need to use during the day, and you don't want to be hostage into a particular tool. So that's one of our sort of superpowers here, is to get us from where we need to be to where we have to be to where we want to be, right? Which is probably browsing around on social media or something. So going through these kind of workflow processes is going to hold account, it's going to hold governance. Those are going to apply to all of the different versions that we're storing, all the different languages that we're translating the content into as well. And we can do things like we can have real-time discussions about things. So, maybe I look at this URL and say, hey, this is a little bit lengthy of a URL. So I can come in here and simply tag somebody like, let's make this Jason's problem today. Sorry, Jason, please make this shorter. So we can sit here and we can have real-time discussions and we can post comments. And this is going to create tasks and assign things, again, to allow Jason to come in, react to that email or that notification, that in-app notification, and say, okay, I need to go change this field. It's halfway down the content. He doesn't have to look for it. When he clicks on it, it's going to take him, just to this. It's going to highlight for him. He's going to see it. It's going to be nice and easy for him. So we want to make our coworkers' lives easy and, kind of quick to the point as well. When we start thinking about those business workflows that I teased a little bit, we're just not going to save my changes. I'm a terrible content editor, if I'm honest with myself. One of the superpowers that we're going to bring to the table as well, to keep using the same word over and over again, is the ability for us to connect with the different tools, right? So when we come in here, I can see that if I go to my in-app marketplace, I can come in here. If we didn't have it already installed, I can simply click a button, put in some information, and I'm immediately going to be connected to Cloudinary, giving me access to some of the valuable tools and technologies there. We've got the same thing for our friends over at commercetools as well, right? So we've got all these different apps that are pre-built, they're supported, they're there. Again, no code, right? You just put in your authentication details and now these things are connected. So let's take that one step further. What if we want to automate the business workflows and move information and data between these systems, right? Doesn't that sound super exciting? It is to me. I'm quite the nerd, I promise. So we have what we call the automation hub. This allows me to come in here and do things that I would normally have to sit there and click a bunch of buttons to do. So a very simple example is, when something happens, do something else, right? This is event and action-based behavior. When a piece of content is updated in that project we were just looked at, send the content over to, in this case, a search index, right? Algolia, cool, go and update that. And then send a Slack message, right? Just update just update a channel, right? So we can see this is going to send some information to a Slack channel. I'm getting notifications over on another screen. I guess in the interest of, since we're doing this live, there you go. 1:20 in the afternoon, we can see that coming through. So there you go, just to validate that everything is actually live here. So this is a nice simple thing, right? Something happens, go tell another platform, and then let's go ahead and tell some humans that a new article or product marketing page has been released. And another example would be something a little bit more complex, right? Let's go and take that data, let's send it over to a translation vendor. We're going to wait, which is really hard to do, by the way, if you're a SaaS platform. Then we're going to pull that data down, update it, move things on in a workflow stage, and get that set up for the next level of workflows and responsibilities. So we've got a lot of these things built into our platforms collectively that allow us to get these implementations out there quicker and allow the business users to be experts where they need to be experts. That is it for me.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was quite informative. Well, now I would like to invite Maribel to speak on behalf of Cloudinary.
Hello, hello. So for those not familiar with Cloudinary, Cloudinary is the industry standard for developers, creators, and marketers looking to manage and transform and deliver images and videos online. And so Cloudinary powers digital experiences for many of the world's top brands, including Atlassian, Bleacher Report, Neiman Marcus, marquee brands, Hinge, and Tesla. And with Cloudinary, you can accelerate time to market through automations and workflows, do things at scale instead of manually, increase user engagement and conversion. So with on-the-fly transformations and optimal delivery, you can get started quickly without a significant lift with our evolving and composable programmable media platform. So with that in mind, let me show you Cloudinary and how we fit into the 10-day challenge project. So let's just have you peek over to Conscia's DX Studio. Hopefully I'm not stealing Jason's thunder here. But what we're seeing here are experience rules. So on the site, you'll see that there's this home page, and you'll see that there's hero banner and a featured video, and that's showcasing Cloudinary. And there are other images and videos in the PDP as well as category page. But if we zoom into the hero banner and we look at the travel rule here, we can see that this is coming, we're looking for a customer segment equal to traveler. And when we see that, we're going to see present them an image, right? So we can now customize and personalize that image experience. And so in this example, we're pulling an image tag. So in Cloudinary, anything labeled luggage in the image tag that is also inside of a folder called banners, we're actually applying some Photoshop-like effects, which we call transformations. So you'll see here F auto, Q auto. This is how we optimize an image. F meaning format, like presenting the smallest file for a particular browser. Quality is how much can we remove pixels without you visually telling a difference. And then here we're changing the width of the image to 1200 pixels. So like, for instance, if I were to add another, we have another tag called travel. I could also pull any images with those tags, and you can see there's more images being added here. So let's pop over to Cloudinary and see what that looks like. So from the Cloudinary, this is, the banners folder that I was just showing you. And then here you'll see that we have images and then the tags. So we have tags as well as contextual metadata. And in Cloudinary, we also have structured metadata. But here we're pulling these particular tags. So you saw that I pulled travel, was able to pull some of these images. And then the luggage, you can see the luggage tag here. So one of the things so the way that Cloudinary works is you upload assets into Cloudinary, and when you upload them, you get a URL back. So when you get that URL back, you can actually manipulate the URL to do those Photoshop-like effects. So if I wanted, for instance, with 500 for this image, I could put that within the URL. And I say this, but just keep in mind that everything I'm telling you, you could do this programmatically and also through our UI, but in bulk, you could do this as well. So imagine, setting all your images in bulk to like with 500. Other things you can do, for instance, is pull in variables. So I had mentioned that we have like the CA text here. So this is like some kind of text. You could do overlays within Cloudinary. So here I'm overlaying, that contextual metadata on top of the image. And again, you can do this with images and videos. Here's an example where I'm applying, we have like other kind of cool effects where you can do vignette, black and white, negative, like all crazy types of transformations you can add within the URL. But I'm pulling like an aspect ratio 1:1 with a crop and with 1000. And then here's an example where I'm doing an overlay of another image on top. So you can watermark your images. You can put several images on top of each other. So all within the URL. And so that's that capability. But as we talk about putting images on top of other images, this also leads to A/B testing. So imagine you have shoes where you've knocked out the background, and now you want to personalize it to somebody who likes running maybe at Yosemite or in the wilderness. So here I have an image in the wilderness called Nature's Mountain. And now I can combine two images and have that personal effect for that particular user. So now like this is enticing to me because maybe I want to run in Yosemite, or maybe I'm a beach person who likes to run on the beach. And now I can underlay, the beach scene under these shoes. So, just an example of how you can personalize. And then here's an example like that's actually inside of the 10-day challenge where we're doing A/B testing. So in this particular image, you'll see that there's a gradient happening here with these mobile phones. And then this is on the home page. And if you open another home page, the A/B part of it, we're removing the background. And maybe this gets more clicks than this, or maybe this is, you can now start figuring out which images work for your site. So everything I've showed you today is kind of scratching the surface of what's possible. And, again, you could do this with images and videos. You could do this in bulk programmatically via our APIs, SDKs, and UI. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton on to Jason so he can demo the web experience.
Hey, thanks, Maribel. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so now that we've basically brought together all of our composable best-in-class applications, let's look at the type of customer experience that we can create and how we can personalize this based on the customer's context. So in front of you is the web channel homepage experience that we've created. And it takes all of the content orchestrated from Cloudinary, Contentstack, and commercetools, and it renders it as part of this page. Now, you can see here, just as an example, this video of the makeup. This is coming from Cloudinary. Okay, we've also set up a lightweight CDP within Conscia, and we'll use this to basically get the customer's context and trigger personalized experiences. Now, in the top right-hand corner, you can see this box called customer context. As we make calls out to the CDP and we get information about the customer, we'll display it on that little customer context box just so you can see the different customer and what segments they're part of. Now, in our first example, this is the same homepage, but through a customer called Pepper. And here we're looking at the homepage through kind of Pepper's eyes. And as we scroll through this page, you can see that the page is very different. The hero banner has been updated. The weekly specials have been updated. You can see that the DX engine is orchestrating a different set of content from Cloudinary, Contentstack, and commercetool and rendering it as this personalized experience for Pepper. Okay, so looking at this video, you saw how in the previous screen, this was a video of makeup. And now because it's Pepper and Pepper is part of the traveler segment and Pepper has specific brand affinities, this information is used to personalize each of the components on the page. And so here for the featured video, you now see a video of the camera and the passport. And just kind of scrolling down, you can see that the products are now more traveler centric. Okay. And just coming back, one thing I'll just kind of point out is in the vanilla view, which is here, you basically see Katy Perry here. And in the personalized view, you also see Katy Perry here. Now, each component on the page works independently of one another to return personalized context. And so the combination of many of these components on the page automatically generates page level variance. In terms of time and cost savings, this is huge because you don't have to manually curate different page variants. Okay, if we take a look at another example, this is calling the same homepage, but as Peter. And you can see that Peter has different brand affinities. Peter is part of the millennial segment. And so the experience that he's going to get is, again, different from Pepper and from the vanilla version because the DX engine is using the customer's context to go and fetch a different set of content from each of our partners. Okay, and just scrolling down through this page, you can see the different experience. It's more focused towards shoes. You can see here that there is more of a lifestyle video. And one of the cool things here is we're not just bringing the video from or displaying the video from Cloudinary, but we're also leveraging some of the transformations from Cloudinary. So we're actually overlaying this in-store event this weekend text on top of the video. Okay, and just scrolling down, we can see there's more kind of fun products. Okay, and previously where we had Katy Perry, you can see now that we have the trending style articles are now all about shoes. So this experience is being personalized based on the context that we know of the customer. Okay, now just going back up, before we actually jump into the back end and I show you what the business user experience is, I'll just take a minute to explain each of the components on the page and where it's getting that information from. So this announcement here is basically coming from Contentstack. This hero image is coming from Cloudinary. Okay. Any products on the page are coming from commercetools. So we can see here weekly specials coming from commercetools. Videos, again, are coming from Cloudinary. Products are coming from commercetools. Okay. And this A/B testing component is actually a combination of commercetools. A combination of Contentstack and Cloudinary. As Maribel mentioned, we're using the transformation where we're actually removing the background and substituting it with an underlay on the fly and pulling content from Contentstack. And likewise, this trending styles article, this is coming from Contentstack. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good sense of the personalized experiences that are being displayed based on what context we know about the customer. Now, we'll jump into the business user tooling. And this is what we call the Experience Studio. Okay, and I'll walk you through two different things. The first thing is, how do we structure things so that you can engage across all of your channels? And the second thing is, how do we set up rules to drive personalization? Within the Experience Studio, we have three different, there's a hierarchy of channels, templates, and components. This is a list of channels that we're engaging across. I've shown you the web channel, and Matt, who's going to speak after me, is going to show you the mobile channel. And for me, this is really kind of the proud part of the solution and where it really shines. It's because we're really showcasing something that is truly omni-channel as opposed to being limited to a single channel like web. Okay. Now, if we drill into the channels, each of the channels has a template. And you can see that we have a homepage template, which is where we're focusing on. Okay. And this homepage template, as you can see, is being used on the web channel, but it's also being used on the mobile channel. Now, within each template, you have components. And this is exactly what I basically showed you on the screen, where we're pulling hero banners from Cloudinary, we're pulling products from commercetools, and we're pulling articles from Contentstack. Now, just a quick word around composability. Because components are reusable across templates, you can see here that, say, the featured video here, this is a component that's been created, and we're using it across the product detail page, but we're also using it across the homepage. So components are reusable across templates, and likewise, templates are reusable across different channels. And having this reusable building block component in templates allows us to deliver the same experience to the mobile channel as was delivered to the web channel. And what this basically means is that this reduces the time to market, which is why we were able to achieve this in 10 days. Okay, before I jump into the rules here, I'm just going to quickly show you the template. And so again, we're focused on the homepage template, and here you can see just a bigger view of the different components on the page. And I'll just show you the preview. Okay, and what this preview is doing is it's showing you the preview of the front end. And what it allows you to do is basically change the context of the customer in order to experience what that front end would look like. So these are the different contexts that we've set up in the system. And for customer segment, we may have somebody like traveler, millennial, home office. For location, we have different geographical locations. And for device, we have iOS or Android. If I change the customer's context, such as, say, Canada, you can see here that the imagery that we're getting from this particular component, the hero banner, is changing to reflect the rules that are set up in the personalization engine. Okay, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so looking at the homepage, we have these different components, and I'll walk through 2 different components. I think the first is the featured video. Okay, and this is basically where we're looking at this guy here. Okay, so this is how we personalize this featured video for this customer, or this customer segment. Now, in the experience rule, there are 2 different elements to the experience rule. The first is the trigger condition, and this is basically where we define what the trigger condition is for this rule, and then when this rule basically runs. So I can define a start and an end date so that this rule kicks off automatically. In this case, we're looking at a customer segment equals millennial, and I can obviously change this. I can basically go in and look for any of my context that I've set up before. So I may want to have somebody who is in Canada and who is part of the customer segment millennials. And when this criteria is fulfilled, what we're doing is we're basically rendering the Cloudinary video. And here what we're doing is we're actually going and browsing the records within Cloudinary itself. Okay, so you can see all the different videos that are stored in Cloudinary. Okay, and just want to note, this is a really great rule because it really showcases not just personalization, but how a composable approach allows you to leverage the powerful features of our partners. We're not just linking to Cloudinary, but we're also being able to leverage the transformation features of, say, Cloudinary to generate this text overlay on the image. Okay. Now, the second rule I'll take you through is the weekly featured products. And this one's a little bit different in the sense that the previous one we saw, we were looking at it for a specific record. In this case, what we're doing is we are basically looking for a set of records. And you can see here that for this trigger condition, we are looking for anyone who is a customer segment equals traveler. And the target experience that we're going to return are any products that match these conditions. And again, within commercetools, we have a set of different attributes. And what I can do is I can start to build a criteria that basically identifies a set of products within commercetools, and that is what is going to be returned as part of my experience. And I think that one was here. Okay, so that's basically returning here. We're looking for sunglasses within a specific range of price. Okay, now in terms of A/B testing, so Mirabel had kind of alluded to this earlier, where if you're an organization who's looking to take smaller steps towards personalization, you can do something like A/B testing. And this is basically where we're setting up 2 different variants. The first is, I think this is like the get the app now variant. And here's the other variant where we're looking at save big with new deals every day. And when you're setting something like that up, just close this. This A/B testing rule is set up in the same way where we're basically defining a target experience. In this case, we don't have a trigger condition because it's going to run for everyone. And when you come in, you basically get this target experience. And this target experience is basically broken into 2 different variants. You can see we have a relative weight of 1:1, which means it will run 50-50. And then what's happening is this variant will look for this particular tag within a content record in Contentstack and return that record. And then this one will look for the Black Friday tag within Contentstack and return that experience as well. Okay. Now, one of the things that we didn't set up for this project, but I just want to show you a sample, is the analytics dashboard. When you're doing A/B testing, personalization, all that good stuff, you need some sort of feedback loop to understand what's working, where change needs to happen. And so within the Conscia platform, you can basically give your business users access to analytics that allow them to view the performance of their campaigns and their performance. Okay. And so for the last thing before I hand it over to Matt is for any of the techies out there, I just want to give you a sense of the front-end development experience and what that looks like. So one of the key things about this 10-day challenge is when you're basically calling the Conscia.ai DX engine, you're basically making one call. And that call basically includes what template you're looking for and any sort of customer identifier. And here, what you basically get back is this one payload with all of the content that's already been orchestrated for you. And because all of that orchestration and personalization is taken care of, front-end teams can then just focus on the styling and the design elements. And so here you can see all of the different components that are being returned as part of this template. And maybe we look at the Contentstack featured article, and you can see I'm getting a couple of featured articles, and all of the content from Contentstack is coming back as part of my payload. And so with this approach, best of all, there's zero code. There's nothing to orchestrate. It simplifies the front end, and it reduces time to market. And with that, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Everybody, I'm super excited. I just shared my screen. Whoop, let me scooch it down here. So I'm excited about talking about what we did with Conscia here, because it really showcases the power and agility of headless. So what BILDIT is, just to kind of give a context, is we're really just a front end. We're the mobile app head for the headless solutions. And the beauty of API first methodology and headless, especially when it comes to Conscia's solution, is that it gives us the ability to move very quickly and do many of the tasks that we need to do across all of these different solutions very simply. So when Sana called me and said, hey, we're going to do a 10-day challenge, first thing I thought was, okay, we got to put a bunch of people on it, 10 days. But that didn't turn out to be true. We were able to put one engineer on the mobile app solution, take our base solution, connect to Conscia, and now you see this customized content from all of these different systems, these A players in the market, coming into your mobile app solution. And this was done by one engineer, and you can see that it has everything that you would expect. The customized content by user, which I'll show you in a little bit, the commerce portion of from commercetools, getting product data and pricing, etc., and also the articles solution, which is also interesting in that it really is extending everything that your commerce platform can do very simply. And the beauty of what we did here is that all of these things work together, not only to move quickly, but extend functionality, to do it all natively. And even though many of these systems are built around HTML content, we were able to do it natively, because of the power of APIs. So you can see all of the different pieces, not just e-commerce. And then I'm going to quickly log in just to show some of the power of the sort of segmentation or personalization that is available. When I log in here, you can see how quick this is. Now, what's amazing about this is that this is a sandbox environment, and it's still extremely fast. And that's the power of everything we're doing. Pulling all of the systems together in what we call orchestration, not only is flexible, but it's also very fast and customizable based on the person. So each one of these is really helpful in understanding exactly what we deliver to our customer, and it really leverages all of the powers of each one of these platforms. The feedback I got when we did this webinar when we announced this webinar is, wow, that is a lot of power players. And the reason they're power players is because we were able to do this so quickly and give a very flexible solution with a very low amount of engineering. So with that, I will hand it off to the next person.
Thank you so much, Matt. That was quite insightful. I would now like to see if anyone has any questions that we could answer.
So while we wait for questions to come in, Sana, do you want to just give us a quick, I guess, a summary for the audience out there as to how much time this took? Like we talk about 10 days, but this obviously wasn't an army of people within 10 days, right? It was just a couple of folks from each team. And I think the folks who are listening out there would benefit from a sense of what that was from a quantitative point of view.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the work that needed to be done on all fronts, when it comes to Conscia, Cloudinary, commercetools, Contentstack, really it was all configuration, right? We spoke about the fact that there is no code required in terms of setting up the content in Contentstack, in terms of getting the images and videos loaded into Cloudinary, in terms of getting the product catalog set up on the commercetools front. And then on the Conscia front as well, there's absolutely zero code on our side because we have connectors to all of the above that I just spoke about. And the work really was for us to think about what story we want to tell. Right? What kind of personalization do we want to do? What kind of content? What's the customer experience that we want to create within this application? So from a development standpoint, up to the point of building out those Conscia APIs that Jason you showed earlier, it was 100% configuration. Now on the front end development side, of course, you're building a custom experience that reflects your brand, right? So there has to be some creative work there. There has to be some design work that needs to happen, and there was that, right? And that can take literally as long or as little as you wish, but we had some predefined templates that we wanted to just use and not spend too much time just because we had only 10 days. But that's where the effort would be. It would be about thinking through the branding, the creative, the design, the experience that you want the customer to have from a business and marketing standpoint. So what I would say is in total, most of the time, like 60% of the time was in defining what we want to show you guys and not so much the actual development. So maybe if I were to put a number on it, maybe in total 20 hours of work across
Well, I think I would add to
platforms.
that, the front end piece, I think we spent, 40 hours basically, a sprint, depending on
Right.
how you look at it. But a lot of it was coordination. But I think the power is really in that the data models that are coming back for the API folks, the technical folks on the call, are the same data models that commercetools provides, that Contentstack provides, that Cloudinary provides. And what that means is that because we already had those pieces and connectors there, that it was just a matter of getting them from a different source. So yes, of course, there's engineering on the front end piece of customizing it and tying it in, and also because it was new to us. So that's 40 hours with one engineer with a new system, right? So we were able to build data models for commercetools, for Cloudinary, for Contentstack, and Conscia, and from scratch during that time. If you already had those things in your mobile app or your mobile web solution, then you're already in a really good position, and you're really just getting it from a different source, and obviously passing it, things like the user's information to get back the custom information. We also spent a decent amount of time just making sure the images were great. Poor Jason was like, "Okay, we'll put a higher resolution image in there," but it was easy with Cloudinary because we were able to, get a very big high resolution image and then simply shrink it down to look beautiful on the mobile app, even though it's high definition Retina images. So I would just say, from my perspective, the engineering portion, which is my whole life, was fast, and it was elegant, and I don't want to say easy because I hate that word, but it was very straightforward to do, and I was actually very impressed and even mildly surprised at how fast we were able to do it myself.
Awesome. Jason, do you want to take the next question
Yeah,
by
so
Aaron?
Aaron had a question around, do we have all these tools up front, or can you add them as your project progresses? The answer is yes, right? So you have, say within the Conscia.ai orchestration, you have a series of different connectors that you can basically use to connect to all the partners that we saw today. You don't have to use them all, right? It's very simple for a business user to basically set up a new connection, create a new component, and build upon things as you go. So for example, if you're just starting off and you only have, say, products, you don't have images and all that, it's very easy to connect a commerce tool, get that, serve it to all the different channels. And when you're ready, then you can say connect to your CMS or connect to Cloudinary. Now, the other thing to kind of note is that these tools are business-centric tools, right? They're no longer IT tools where it takes a whole project or sprint to get things going. As you want to add things, you simply just, click, 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 or you you add a new rule through that form that I showed you earlier. If you want to change what your segmentation criteria looks like, you can basically drag and drop different elements onto the screen in order to personalize for a new audience. So hopefully that answers your question, Aaron.
So I'll answer
Jason.
at least my portion of this, and everyone else can do their piece as well. Literally one engineer on the front end side. And I would say that that's primarily the amount of engineering work that even existed.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'll speak to the Conscia side. In terms of the orchestration, I would say one person, probably about 3 days. And most of that was really just planning, right? It was thinking about what page do we want to show? What are the components that are going to be on each page? And then basically just creating the connectors, which basically takes a couple minutes each, thinking about the rules that we want to put in there and what that personalized experience looks like. And just creating the rules, making sure that we have the right content, just a couple of days. I would say really the majority of the time was spent around the logistics and, like Matt said, just making sure things looked great, right? We can basically consume this across many different channels, but we also wanted to make sure it looked pleasant for this webinar.
And I'll add for the commerce tools piece, because I'm laughing as I'm listening to this. So Conscia built a connector to us that Jason's talking about. It takes about 5 minutes to spin up a sandbox in our environment. We provide the API definition and a little bit of basic training. And I think, Jason, what was it? A 15-minute conversation with Sia and a couple of emails. I think I spent more time, planning this WebEx, than we did on the portion of ours. Again, because of the full automation with the Conscia piece and the promise of a headless engine that supports this.
I feel like you're rubbing it in. I feel like you're rubbing it in.
All right. Gokul has a question. For a 10-day challenge, that's a very good start. How free are customers to choose the tools? So when you're saying tools, Gokul, I'm thinking you mean the various digital asset management systems, different CMSs, different commerce engines. If that's the case, yes, like there is actually no theoretically we can connect to anybody whatsoever, as long as they have an API and structured content response, such as JSON, that can be exposed through our experience APIs to the front end. That would be the only restriction or limitation from our perspective. So anything goes, as long as it's what we call composable.
Just want to add to that, though, that these are the best tools.
Yeah, yes. Thanks, Matt. Absolutely. Agreed. What are the biggest challenges you would need to tackle if you're dealing with a partly composable and partly monolithic commerce landscape? That's a really good question. I love that question because it actually goes to the heart of why we built the DX engine the way we did. So as I said, the only limitation to connect to the DX engine is that you need to have APIs and structured content. So if some of your data is sitting in legacy systems, we do actually offer another product called the DX Graph, which essentially modernizes the data temporarily until you move to an actual headless CMS or digital asset management or commerce engine, temporarily puts a bit of a modernization layer, an API layer on top of your legacy systems so that you can integrate those as well and build modern touchpoints and modern experiences based on legacy systems. So that is actually one of the biggest challenges that enterprise face today, is that they're dealing with many legacy systems within their infrastructure, even though they're on the right path. They are trying to move to composable and headless. And for new initiatives, they are starting with headless and composable platforms, but there's still a lot of old data and a lot of old content and old digital properties, existing digital properties that are sitting on legacy platforms. So we provide an option alongside the DX engine, essentially a plugin that will allow you to modernize your existing legacy infrastructure in a very quick way with the DX graph.
And I'll just add to Sana's kind of technical challenge. I mean, I think one of the big challenges too is a mindset challenge, right? Part of the reason we did this 10-day challenge was to show organizations out there that composable is not hard. A lot of organizations tend to think that going composable means this multi-month project, this huge initiative, and in actuality, it's not, right? I mean, yes, there are technical challenges like kind of legacy systems, but I think once you get around the mindset of, this is not really hard, then you can start to put together kind of a small kind of low-hanging fruit proof of concept and circulate that within the business to show the organization that this is fast, this is doable, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. And then you start to get buy-in, and then you can start to expand the reach of your composability and your kind of digital transformation initiative.
I just want to add to this a little bit on the technical side, which is because I think Rafaela actually asked a very insightful question, which is that if you're looking to transition, right, into something more composable, or if you're dealing with, like you mentioned, legacy systems, if they have APIs, the DX Graph and Conscia are pulling it all together, and that's the big benefit. But also, you said ask what the biggest challenges are. Figuring out what to transition first. Is it your inventory first? Is it your pricing first? Is it your product catalog first? Is it something else? Is it your content first? And a lot of that depends on what monolithic systems you're using and what they're capable of. Many of them do have APIs, so there are ways to transition to it elegantly. Although I would suggest finding somebody that has done it for other companies in the past, because there can be many challenges. Who's going to host your front end if you're not hosting anymore? What does your content strategy look like? Even your SEO is affected by where you get these things from. And so I think a very proper transition strategy saying, let's pick one system to be API first, then let's pick the next system and the next system, because otherwise, it could be a considerable challenge tying in all those old systems.
Thank you so much for answering that so well. With that, we come towards the end of the Q&A round. And if anyone has any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and we will respond to you as soon as possible. Sana, I would now like to hand it over to you to make the closing remarks, please.
All right. I wasn't actually going to make any closing remarks, but I can if you want me to. Well, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. This is to Nick, Chris, Maribel, Matt, for giving us the opportunity to work with you on this Omnichannel showcase. It was an amazing experience. It was easy and efficient and effective to work with all of the amazing composable technologies that you guys offer. And I hope that at the end of this webinar, one thing that you can take away is that composable and headless does not need to be difficult. It is meant for the enterprise. It does not need 50 engineers plus teams to build these experiences, and that you would have a more open mind towards the shift and the revolution that we're now seeing towards the composable ecosystem. Thank you so much for your time.